Rachel Bennett was the kind of person who always noticed when someone needed help. A teacher by profession, she spent her days nurturing young minds and her evenings reflecting on how to make the world a little brighter. Her friends often joked that she had a superpower for spotting people in need, but Rachel just called it being attentive. One rainy evening, as Rachel drove home from work, the streets glistened under the dim glow of streetlights. The rhythmic patter of rain against her windshield filled the quiet car, and she hummed softly along to the radio. But then, something caught her eye, a figure standing alone on the side of the road. Slowing down, Rachel saw it was a young girl, no older than 12, soaked to the bone and shivering. Her sneakers were splashed with mud, and her backpack hung limply from one shoulder. She looked lost, both physically and emotionally. Rachel pulled over and rolled down her window. "Hey there," she called out gently. "Are you okay? Do you need a ride?" The girl hesitated, glancing at Rachel warily before nodding. I don't know where I am," she admitted quietly, climbing into the passenger seat. Water dripped onto Rachel's floor mats, but she didn't mind. "I'm Rachel," she said warmly, offering a reassuring smile. "What's your name?" "Emma," the girl replied, her voice barely above a whisper. As Rachel resumed driving, she studied Emma in the rearview mirror. There was sadness in her eyes, something deeper than just being stranded on a rainy night. Sensing that Emma wasn't ready to talk, Rachel kept the conversation light, asking about school and favorite hobbies. But as they drove further, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than coincidence. Something told her that Emma's story went beyond getting lost, and that maybe, just maybe, she was meant to be here tonight. What neither of them realized yet was that this ride would change both their lives forever. As they drove through the rain-soaked streets, Rachel kept glancing at Emma in the rearview mirror. The young girl stared out the window, her reflection pale and distant against the darkened glass. Something heavy weighed on her shoulders. Rachel could see it in the way she hugged her backpack tightly to her chest. "Where are we headed?" Rachel asked gently, breaking the silence. Emma hesitated, then muttered an address. It was a neighborhood not far from where they were, but Rachel sensed there was more to the story than a wrong turn or missed bus stop. "You don't have to tell me anything if you don't want to," Rachel said softly, "but I'm here to listen if you need someone." For a moment, Emma didn't respond. Then, in a voice barely audible over the sound of the rain, she began to speak. "I ran away," she admitted, her words tumbling out like stones hitting water. "From home." Rachel nodded slowly, keeping her tone calm and non-judgmental. "That sounds really tough. Do you want to talk about why?" Emma bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes. "My dad. He doesn't care about me anymore. All he does is work. He never has time for me." Her voice cracked, and she wiped angrily at her cheeks. "So I left. I thought maybe he'd notice I was gone." Rachel's heart ached for the girl. She remembered her own childhood, the fights with her parents, the moments when she felt invisible, and knew exactly how Emma must be feeling. "I know it's hard to believe right now," Rachel said carefully, "but parents aren't perfect. Sometimes they get so caught up in their lives that they forget to show us how much they love us. That doesn't mean they don't care. It just means they're human." Emma sniffled, looking skeptical. "But what if he doesn't even miss me? What if he's happy I'm gone?" Rachel shook her head firmly. "Trust me, Emma. No parent is ever happy when their child runs away. They might act mad or scared when they see you again, but underneath all that, they're just relieved you're safe." Emma fell silent, staring down at her hands. After a while, she whispered, "Do you really think he misses me?" "I know he does," Rachel replied confidently. "And I think once you two sit down and talk, really talk, you'll find a way to fix things." The rest of the drive passed quietly, with Emma lost in thought and Rachel giving her space to process. When they finally pulled up to a modest house with warm yellow lights glowing in the windows, Rachel felt a flicker of hope. Whatever happened next, she knew this moment mattered, not just for Emma, but for her father too. What neither of them realized yet was that this conversation would spark a chain reaction. healing wounds neither had fully acknowledged until now. As Rachel parked in front of the house, the front door burst open, and a man rushed out into the rain. It was Mr. David Carter, Emma's father. His face was pale with worry, his hair disheveled, and his eyes wild with panic. "Emma!" he shouted, relief washing over him as he saw her sitting in the car. He yanked open the passenger door and pulled her into a tight hug, oblivious to the rain soaking through his clothes. "Where have you been? I've been looking everywhere for you." For a moment, Emma melted into his embrace, tears streaming down her face. But then, just as quickly, she pulled away, her expression hardening. "You didn't even notice I was gone until hours later," she accused, her voice trembling. "You don't care about me." David froze, stunned by her words. He opened his mouth to respond but stopped when he noticed Rachel standing nearby, watching the scene unfold. She stepped forward, her presence calm and steady. "Mr. Carter," Rachel began gently, "I found Emma wandering alone on the side of the road. She's safe now, but I think it's important that you both take a moment to listen to each other." David looked at Rachel, then back at Emma, his shoulders sagging under the weight of guilt and exhaustion. "Please," Rachel added softly, "let her explain how she feels. Sometimes, kids just need to know they're heard." Reluctantly, David nodded, motioning for them to go inside. Once they were seated in the living room, Emma hugged her knees to her chest, refusing to meet her father's gaze. David sat across from her, his hands clasped tightly together. "Emma," he started, his voice hoarse, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize you felt this way." "You never do," Emma shot back, her anger bubbling to the surface. "You missed my science fair last month because of work. You forgot my birthday dinner 2 weeks ago. And every time I try to talk to you, you're either too busy or too tired to listen." David flinched, each accusation hitting him like a punch to the gut. He glanced at Rachel, who gave him an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, he turned back to Emma. "You're right," he admitted, his voice breaking. "I messed up. I thought working hard would give us a better life, but I didn't realize I was pushing you away instead." Emma stared at him, tears streaming down her face. For so long, she'd convinced herself that her father didn't love her, but seeing him break down now made her question everything she believed. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," David continued, reaching out to hold her hand. "I promise to do better, to be better. Will you give me another chance?" Emma hesitated, glancing at Rachel, who smiled warmly. Slowly, she nodded, allowing her father to pull her into another hug. This time, it wasn't just relief, it was connection. Rachel watched silently, knowing she'd done what she came to do. Before leaving, she reminded David that small acts of presence could make all the difference. "Show her you care, not just with words, but with actions," she advised. "Even something as simple as asking about her day can mean the world." As Rachel walked back to her car, she felt a sense of fulfillment. What started as a random act of kindness had become a turning point for a family on the brink of losing each other. Little did she know, the ripple effects of her compassion would extend far beyond this rainy night. Over the following weeks, Rachel stayed in touch with the Carters, checking in to see how things were going. She didn't want to intrude, but she cared deeply about ensuring Emma and her father stayed on the path to healing. Each time she called or visited, she saw small but meaningful changes taking place. David had taken Rachel's advice to heart. He began carving out time for Emma, no matter how busy his schedule was. One evening, he surprised her by showing up at her school play, a performance he'd nearly missed due to a work meeting. As Emma stood on stage, delivering her lines with confidence, she caught sight of her dad in the audience, smiling proudly. For the first time in months, she felt truly seen. At home, David made an effort to connect with Emma in ways he never had before. He asked about her day, helped her with homework, and even joined her for weekend bike rides. Though it wasn't always easy. Old habits die hard. He reminded himself daily that being present mattered more than perfection. Emma, too, was changing. The anger and resentment she'd carried for so long began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of trust and security. She started opening up to her dad, sharing stories about school, friends, and her dreams for the future. Their conversations weren't always smooth. There were still moments of frustration, but they were learning to navigate them together. For Rachel, witnessing their progress brought immense joy. It also sparked reflection on her own life. Helping the Carters had reminded her of why she became a teacher, to make a difference one person at a time. Inspired by this experience, Rachel decided to dedicate more energy to mentoring struggling students at her school. She organized after-school programs, hosted workshops for parents, and created safe spaces where kids could share their feelings without fear of judgment. One afternoon, while volunteering at a community center, Rachel ran into Emma and her dad. They were participating in a family bonding event Rachel had helped organize. Seeing them laugh and interact so naturally filled her with pride. Afterward, Emma pulled Rachel aside. "Thank you," Emma said earnestly, her eyes shining with gratitude. "If you hadn't found me that night, I don't know what would have happened. You saved us." Rachel smiled, crouching down to meet Emma's gaze. "I didn't save you, Emma. You and your dad did the hard work. All I did was remind you both how much you mean to each other." David approached, extending his hand. "We couldn't have done it without you, Rachel. Thank you for everything." As they parted ways, Rachel realized something profound. Kindness creates ripples. Her simple act of giving Emma a ride home had sparked a chain reaction, not just within the Carter family, but in her own life as well. It reinforced her belief in the power of compassion, no matter how small the gesture might seem. Meanwhile, David continued working on being the father Emma deserved. He enrolled in parenting classes, eager to learn new ways to support his daughter. At work, he began advocating for better work-life balance policies, inspired by his own struggles. His colleagues noticed the change in him. Calmer, more grounded, and genuinely happy. Emma thrived under her father's renewed attention. Her grades improved, her friendships deepened, and she rediscovered her love for art, filling sketchbooks with vibrant drawings. She often thought about Rachel, wondering if the teacher knew just how much she'd changed their lives. Whenever doubt crept in, Emma reminded herself of the lesson Rachel taught her, that even in our darkest moments, there's always hope. Years passed, and the bond between Emma and her father grew stronger with each passing day. For Rachel, the memory of that rainy night remained a reminder of why she chose to live a life of service. Every student she mentored, every family she helped, it all traced back to the ripple effects of one seemingly ordinary evening. Little did any of them know, their journey was far from over. The seeds of kindness planted that night would continue to grow, inspiring others to believe in the transformative power of love and understanding. Years later, Emma grew into a confident and compassionate young woman. She never forgot the rainy night when Rachel Bennett changed her life, and neither did her father. Inspired by Rachel's kindness, they both dedicated themselves to helping others in their community. Emma became passionate about volunteering, spending her weekends mentoring at-risk youth and organizing charity events. Her favorite project was a free art program for kids who couldn't afford extracurricular activities. A nod to the joy drawing had brought her during tough times. She often told her students, "Sometimes all it takes is one person believing in you to change everything." David, too, found purpose beyond his corporate job. He partnered with local schools to host parenting workshops, teaching other fathers how to connect with their children. His message was simple but powerful. Being present doesn't cost a thing, but it means everything. Parents left his sessions feeling inspired and equipped to repair strained relationships. Rachel continued touching lives through her work as a teacher and mentor. Over time, she became known not just as an educator but as a beacon of hope in her community. Her efforts inspired countless families to prioritize love and understanding over material success or perfection. One day, while attending a community fair, Rachel spotted Emma volunteering at a booth promoting mental health awareness. Now in her early 20s, Emma radiated confidence and warmth. When she saw Rachel, her face lit up with recognition. "Rachel!" Emma exclaimed, rushing over to hug her. "I can't believe you're here. It's so good to see you." Rachel replied, smiling warmly. Look at you, doing amazing things. Emma shook her head modestly. None of this would have happened without you. You gave me a second chance. Not just with my dad, but with life itself. Rachel chuckled softly. All I did was give you a ride home. The rest was up to you and your dad. But Emma knew better. Rachel's compassion had planted a seed that blossomed into something extraordinary. For her family, for her community, and for herself. That night, as Rachel drove home, she reflected on the ripple effects of her actions. What started as a random act of kindness had grown into a movement fueled by love and gratitude. The Carters stayed in touch with Rachel, inviting her to milestones like Emma's college graduation and David's retirement party. Each celebration reminded them of how far they'd come since that stormy evening years ago. For Rachel, the experience reinforced her belief in the power of small gestures. For Emma and her father, it proved that love and understanding could overcome even the deepest misunderstandings. Together, they showed the world that kindness isn't just an act, it's a legacy. And though their paths diverged over time, the bond they shared remained unshakable, proof that sometimes, a single moment of compassion can spark a lifetime of change. Years later, Rachel drove past the Carter household one sunny afternoon. She smiled as she saw Emma playing in the yard with her younger siblings, laughing and clearly happy. It was a scene that warmed her heart, a reminder of how far they'd come since that rainy night. Rachel reflected on everything that had unfolded because of one simple act, giving a lost girl a ride home. That moment hadn't just brought Emma back to her family. It sparked a chain reaction of healing, growth, and love. For Emma and her father, it mended their broken relationship. For Rachel, it reinforced her belief in the power of kindness, inspiring her to continue making a difference in countless lives. As she drove away, Rachel felt grateful, not just for the opportunity to help but for the ripple effects that followed. Her small gesture had created waves of change, touching not only the Carters but everyone they went on to inspire. For Emma, Rachel's compassion became a guiding light. She carried those lessons into adulthood, dedicating her life to helping others feel seen and valued. And for David, the experience transformed him into a better father and mentor, ensuring no child ever felt neglected again. In the end, the story wasn't just about Rachel or the Carters. It was about the enduring power of kindness. One act, no matter how small, could ignite a legacy of love and understanding that spanned generations. As Rachel turned onto the main road, she glanced at the rearview mirror one last time. The Carters' house faded into the distance, but their impact remained forever etched in her heart. Sometimes all it takes is a single moment of compassion to change a life and the world. If you enjoyed this story and would love to read more heartwarming tales, inspiring journeys, or captivating adventures, don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our latest content. It's completely free, and you'll never miss another story that might just brighten your day, inspire you, or even change your perspective on life. Subscribing ensures you get instant access to new stories delivered straight to your inbox. Be the first to know about exclusive content, giveaways, and updates, and join a community of awesome people who love meaningful storytelling. Your support means the world to us. Subscribing helps us keep creating content that touches hearts and sparks imagination, and it motivates us to write even more stories like this one. So what are you waiting for? Click below to subscribe now. It only takes a second, but the impact lasts a lifetime. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. Together, let's keep spreading kindness, hope, and inspiration, one story at a time. Red Heart.